Hey guys, welcome back to the Disciplined HQ podcast. I've got a personal friend here, Mr. Adam Lala. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Happy to be up at 6 a.m. with you and doing this, man. That's great.
Man, if there was ever anybody who was going to be more willing to do it, it's you, man. Like, we're friends outside of this, personal friends, go to church together, Sunday school,
Mm.
doing life together with kids and everything.
Yeah,
So,
it's been great. It's been great getting to know you, man. And also, it's always fun working out in the shed together. So just getting away from it all.
Yes, man, you've been a great friend, and so and you've got a great story. So I'm super excited for other people to hear the journey that you've been on and what the Lord's brought you through and where you're at now. So
Yeah,
where
man.
do you want to start?
Dude, I mean, going in order. I mean, the first thing that really happened first was faith, then it went right into fitness, and then where I'm at today. So, I say we start with what God how God changed my heart.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess just jumping in. I grew up in a Catholic background. My parents grew up in the Catholic Church, which was cool. Got to learn a lot about the traditions and everything. Funny enough, the school that I went to a middle school and like lower school called St. Jude School, or St. Jude the Apostle Catholic School.
Hmm.
Um, they talked a lot about tradition. They didn't talk really anything about the gospel. So
Hmm.
I got roped into cultural Christianity really fast, being like, okay, I go to church every Sunday, I'm good. And that's how I lived for like 23 years of my life. I was doing the Christian thing, but my heart was so far from the Lord, man.
Hmm.
It was bad. I would have been one of those guys where if I would have died and like so grateful that I didn't in that time, God would have been like, depart from me, I never knew you. Um,
Hmm.
so that was a once like the gospel was, and it's funny enough, whenever I got to college, that's when I started taking my faith seriously. I wanted to make it my own, but I really
Yeah.
didn't know what that looked like because I just didn't have like someone discipling me in my life. But I mean, I wasn't a Christian yet, so like I had no idea what any of this looked like. Like funny enough,
Gotcha.
I was on leadership at church. Me and some buddies started a Christian fraternity called Bucks. Like that was fun. Just having good like Christian community in college like that. That's what like the main like that's what really led me to Christ.
Yeah.
Um,
And so like, but at that point, did you understand that you were like kind of different from um like it was just tradition? Like, did you understand that there was a lack of relationship there?
so it was one of those things where like I was scared to admit it, that I didn't have it because I was like no the gospel you presented to me and I'm like oh yeah I know that
Yeah.
and it was all head knowledge. That's all it was.
Mm.
But I would have like convictions here and there, like during sermons, of like that's me or that's not me. Um,
Yeah.
so the Holy Spirit works, and I mean like if you're experiencing conviction in your life, like you should probably listen to what the what the Holy Spirit has to say. So um, if you get anything from that,
Yeah.
listen to conviction. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, like I said, was doing the Christian thing, but was walking so far from the Lord. I was the one that was proclaiming Jesus on Sunday, but was at the bar on Saturday.
Hmm.
Um, and then, funny enough, so I had a buddy, actually my roommate. His name's Daniel McCrae. I don't know if you know Daniel. He's in the Shreveport location too, but
No.
he's 6'5". He's hard to miss. Yeah, he's a big dude. Um, he sat down with me he called me one day and he was like, dude, I just gave my life to Christ. And I was like, Daniel, like, what are you talking about? Like, I was sitting next to you in church this morning. Like, we're, like, we should be good.
Yeah.
And he laid out the gospel. And it was something I heard a million times, but this time it clicked. It was, I'll never forget it. He still drives his blue truck. So I love that blue truck because that's where the Lord really met me. Um, so he presented the gospel, and it finally like flip of a switch. Like I understand
Yeah.
like what this means now. So, and it was really cool because like in the moment when Daniel was presenting the gospel, it was like the Lord like was speaking to me of like it was like I was cornered, but the Lord did it in such a loving way, and He was like, "You have to make a decision. Like
Mm.
either like say what you're saying and live for me, or depart from me." Um,
Yeah.
and so that was the day that like I said, He met me. I was so fortunate enough 23 years later, after knowing head knowledge, that I gave my life to Christ. And from there, that's when like discipline really like started showing up in my life. So it was fun, man. It was
Yeah.
it was I've never felt. I know it's not about emotion and feelings, but like I felt every emotion and feeling in about a 15-minute period. It was awesome. So it was good. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for what the Lord did in my life.
Nice. And so, how did your life change after that?
Man, I can't remember the verse off the top of my head, but it was I think it's in, I want to say Isaiah, about removing your heart of God, removing your heart of stone and giving you a heart of
Mm,
flesh. Like there was it, I never understood like the fruits of the spirit either, and it was like once that happened, like you could see stuff. I could see fruit actually growing.
yeah.
And it was fun. Like it got to be really strategic of like being like, okay, I'm a believer and I'm going to live in a house full of Kappa Sigs at the time, and like I would talk with buddies and we're like, all right, this is how we're going to infiltrate their house and they're all going to come to Christ. And we there was actually one guy who gave his life to Christ in that house, so we were like, that's a win, that's a win.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. So, was Kappa Sig like a Christian fraternity or
no,
no?
notoriously they were notorious for being the complete opposite of that. So it was one of those things. I needed a place to live, and I knew one of the guys, and they were just like, "Come on!" And I was like, "Well, this is the perfect, ministry opportunity."
Yeah.
Um, and like before, it was more so like, why did I not want to go share the gospel? Like there was
Mm,
just no like drive. And then after giving my life to Christ, like all these things that the Lord talks about, like kind of falling in place. And this one was more. The want was finally there to, like, I was just so like giddy, I guess you could say, about like talking about Jesus, that like it was kind of oozing out of me. Not that
yeah.
I'm doing anything incredible. I mean, I'm just sharing what the Lord did to me, and what the Lord did on the cross, and people were receptive to that at the time. So it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
That's so funny because it's like a perfect summation of your personality to me. Like you're definitely the person who is like, I will go and do the most uncomfortable thing. I
Yeah.
will. It doesn't matter who is there. My mission is above all else, and whenever I go to this, I'm going to do
Yeah.
what I feel the Lord is calling me to do. And it's always so funny that you don't have that intimidation factor, or it's never an option of you being converted or like pulled away from the Lord by someone else. Like you could go into the darkest place and you're always a light there. There's never a chance or a thought that you're going to somehow be corrupted by what you're surrounded by.
Well, dude, that really means a lot, because sometimes I feel like I'm an idiot half the time when I go into these situations. But again, that I don't think that's anything that I'm doing. I think it's just the Lord He's put this protective shield around me to be like, all right, you're mine, and I'm gonna keep you mine
Yeah.
forever. So, but also like I've had the conviction for a while now. It's like we go into these situations, especially in America, where I don't think we realize what persecution really is, because I don't think we've actually experienced it. So, like,
Hmm.
are we scared to just bring conversation up, or like, because like the worst thing that's going to happen is someone's not going to be my friend, and like that's I'd rather that than be murdered. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like.
Say mean things about me on Twitter all you want. Just don't kill
Exactly,
me.
exactly. Like, and again, if it came down to that, like I'm just saying, like the risk factor's not there. Like if it came
Hmm.
down to like if I was in a foreign country and died for my faith, it's like, well, then I did what I was supposed to do. I was faithful to the end. Um, but I don't think we have an excuse. I mean, again, we're dealing with, oh, you're going to talk bad behind my back. Like I don't really care at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Nice. And so you make, or how was the rest of your college experience?
so that was my first year of grad school. So went through all my undergrad. Like I said, was 23 when I gave my faith in Christ, and then rest of college was good, man. That's when I started really getting to the fitness aspect. That's when I was convinced that the Lord was like, you're going into the military. um, which was so fun. I love that
Yeah.
part, but I also despise every part.
Right.
But
So was military like a big thing in your family?
so my grandfather was a colonel and fought in
Okay.
World War II. Was in Guadalcanal. Um, so he was in the Pacific. So his battalion, he was in a tanker division, and they were all going to Germany to fight like the Tigers and everything in Germany. And then last
Goodness.
minute they said we need like a company to go to Guadalcanal to help the Marines. So he was the first Army company to go to Guadalcanal and fight over there. Um,
Goodness.
which was cool. So the Japanese tanks were a lot worse than the German tanks during the time. So whenever
Mm.
they had to switch rounds because like they were so used to shooting at these tigers, and they were so like heavily armored and everything that when they would shoot the Japanese tanks, the bullets and everything and missiles would just go through the body of the tank and like wouldn't kill anyone. So
What?
they had to downgrade. So
So like the Japanese tank or the German tanks were more heavily armored
yeah,
and the
they were.
Japanese tanks were like more flimsy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the German tank at the time was basically the goat. Like
Yeah.
no one was. I mean, the best. It's kind of cool. So like, whenever you think of tanks, you think, oh, I'm going to use a tank to fight it. But from what I've learned in the military, foot soldiers were the biggest like threat to tanks because they could just maneuver so much easier. Now,
Hmm.
you had to get up on them,
Yeah.
which is
Good luck getting that close.
yeah. It's like if I see a tank, I'm hightailing the other way. Like I'm I'm out. So. But yeah, I mean, it was him. It was him and a small carbine, and a lot of times I'd have to jump out and do what they needed to. But yeah, I'm
Good
super
job.
proud of him and just serving the country like he did. I mean, he was 19 and was fighting in a war. Like, good for him.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
why they're the greatest generation.
exactly. They really are.
Oh man.
But yeah, other than that, my dad he was a captain in the army, and then I mean I got my degrees and elected to enlist instead of commission. So
Whoa.
yeah, which was a definitely a Lord thing. So
I don't think I'd ever heard that part. I don't know. I just knew that you had military in your family. I never knew you went enlisted though.
yeah, yeah. So the pipeline I wanted to go into, it was you had to become an officer and wait like years to because you had to get all your trainings in and everything, and then
Yeah.
you
So what
could.
were you wanting to do? Like what was your plan for the military?
So I got a contract. Luckily, that one popped up for an 18 X-ray, which is the Green Beret pipeline. So that was the goal for a little bit, which is the training was really fun. I don't
Hmm.
recommend going when you have a wife. That was not fun.
Right.
You don't realize it's one of those things that like once you're gone, you're like, I wish I could just have one more minute. And so
Hmm.
that was like a big like pull on my heart. But um, yeah, I mean, I that time was so special, and it's so right. It was really hard, more mentally than physically, in my opinion. Because again, going to the fitness part, like I trained for like 2 years prior, so doing the runs
Goodness.
and push ups and pull ups, like if you train for it, you were ready, man.
Yeah.
Especially in like the basic, in the basic pipeline, um, but yeah, don't leave your wife. Not biblical. Bad.
And so, like, what was that training like whenever you knew you wanted to go like Green Beret and you're gonna have to go through boot camp first? Like, what was your training like to prepare for that?
So initially, it was like, okay, I looked at what the PT test was. So it was push ups,
Hmm.
pull ups, sit ups. Luckily, like the day I joined, they were like, we're switching the PT test up. And I was like, fantastic, everything I trained for. But so I mainly focused on, I mean, a lot of my accessory work was the PT test of what it was at the time. So 2 mile run, 2 minute push ups, 2 minute sit ups. So I was just testing that over and over again. Because of that, the lowest score, so it's based out of 300. The lowest score I got on one was a 280 because I had bronchitis and couldn't run. Like it just sucked. Um,
But you did the run with bronchitis.
yeah, that one was horrible. All my
God.
buddies were like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Dude, I can't breathe. This isn't good." But no, yeah, I mean, dude, it was just like hundreds and hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups and running, and it was fun. um,
That is insane.
yeah, and then like on top of that, it was um, I got heavily in CrossFit, which I know you've delved in as well. So
Yeah.
actually, luckily one of the guys that I joined a gym called CrossFit Reston, and one of the guys who owns the gym was in the Green Beret pipeline as well.
Cool.
So he was like mentoring me the whole time. So it was cool. Got kind of the inside scoop of what to expect and everything. So
Yeah. So would you say CrossFit, like if someone's training for special forces, is CrossFit a good way to go?
yeah, I mean, if you want to get in shape and like get your endurance up, so I think people see like Matt Froning or Rich Froning or Matt Frazier, and they're like, that's what CrossFit dudes look like, but they don't understand they are doing CrossFit a good amount of time, but they're also resistance training and heavily weight training. If I were to go back, I would pair the two because I focus more on the endurance. I mean, I could run for days, which is awesome. But
Yeah.
because I have such a smaller stature, the rucks where you had 80 to 100 pounds on your back really got me because I was 150, so like
Yeah.
two
That's like
thirds of my
most of your
body weight.
body weight.
Yeah, exactly. So if I were to do it again, I would do a lot more resistance training on top of the CrossFit. So
Mm. So like powerlifting kind of stuff or
yeah, just getting your body acclimated to having weight under it or carrying heavy things or because like I said, like dude, I could run and do clean and jerk till kingdom come for a simple CrossFit workout just because they're never going to make the clean and jerk like 250 pounds on an RX workout. So like lighter
yeah.
weight was fine, but like if I was going to go back, it was going to be really, really focused on that, on getting weight under my body. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my advice with it. So especially for a
Nice.
smaller guy, that was the hard part for sure.
And so how was basic training? Because you had to go basic training before you went into Green Beret training, right?
Yes, yeah. So it was basic airborne right into the pipeline,
Hmm.
or pre-selection selection time frame. So yeah, dude, it was. So I left August 24th to go to basic, and I do not recommend going in during a pandemic because I was stupid of mine. But I mean, who knew?
Yeah,
Um,
no, nobody could have known like what was going to happen.
yeah, and we got like it was like the most unfortunate circumstance. So like you go to basic, but you don't go to basic right away. You go to a place called reception where you get all your stuff, like all your
Hmm.
uniforms, boots, whatever. And that's usually, from what I've been told, I did not experience this. It's usually 3 days. We were there for a month and a half, and
Whoa.
yeah, during that time, they were like, you can't work out because they had one kid they were doing a workout on the track, and his hip decided to like explode in his body, which we were like, what the crap. um, so that was fun. So they were like, no more working out.
Yeah.
And so our days consisted of, we had something called a blue book, which is just like everything 101 about the Army. And we'd sit
Hmm.
on concrete for like 12 hours a day. So
Gosh.
it was good mental training. But
I
after
was
a
about to
while,
say that
you're like,
mental fortitude got
yeah.
tested.
So like it was like, we got up, our company got up at 4 a.m. and we sat till like 6 for um, breakfast. And like if they caught you sleeping, it was just push-ups for days, and the whole company had to get involved. So like, you have 200 dudes just sitting there. It's like, okay, someone's inevitably gonna fall. um,
Yeah.
so it was that. Then breakfast, then back out there till lunch. We get a break between like lunch and dinner, and then go to bed at 9. And then you had to pull your fire guard duty. So I mean, you were up at random hours of the night. So. Um, Once there, and I think, dude, like that whole process, like it kind of set us up to fail because you get used to people just yelling at you and like just getting onto you. That like when our real drill sergeant did it at basic, like we just didn't care. Um,
Yeah.
so it made us like because we were all there and we're kind of like we started to get squared away, and then we were like, all right, y'all are just messing with us now. So so like we just didn't care.
Yeah.
Um, And you remember how I told you I have just really good luck military wise, like trainings. So I got to go to the first 6-month cycle in basic training history. It was awesome. And that's sarcasm. That was horrible.
I was about to say, it sounds like they just condensed every atom, every aspect of hell during military training into a small period of time.
So it's usually 12 weeks. So they extended it. So
Oh, they extended it. Okay.
extended it. It's usually like so. Basic is usually 10 weeks, but then you have 4 weeks of 3 or 4 weeks of AIT, which is like specific to your
Okay.
MOS. So
Yeah.
they did all of ours in 24 months, and they were like, "We're gonna ensure you get more range time. We're gonna ensure all this stuff," but like. They just took the same curriculum and just spread it out over 6 months. So like we would wake up some days and they're like, we have nothing to do. Go back to the barracks, and we just sit all day.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
And this is
again,
like during COVID time, and so I don't know. Is there like a military disclaimer that you need to put out there? Like, are you like if you say anything about like what happened, are you okay?
I mean, I think so. I mean, this is just more my experience of what happened.
Yeah.
Um, it's not like this anymore. They've gone back to the like right when we got to North Carolina for like to get processed into SWIC, they're like, yeah, we're not doing a 6-month cycle anymore, and like it was just like the perfect storm of just like crap happening. So
Yeah.
um,
Because you were in the thick of, was it 2020, like when
yeah,
you were going through it?
yeah,
Goodness. So this was August 2020. So, like, right whenever everything was just peak amount of panic and
yeah. Hmm.
everything going on. So, we've talked before, like, what the barrack situation was like and, like, what the, I guess, COVID standards were
Yeah.
for the military. So, can you go over, like, what they were asking y'all to do, like, for, like, COVID during training?
So it kind of changed over time, but when we got there, it was you had to wear your mask all the time, except for when you slept. So
Well,
it
that's
was,
good.
dude. It was like they were like, "All right, you have to wear your mask to run," and I'm like, "No, like that's stupid." And that changed really fast because like people were just taking them off anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so and then it changed to from you have to wear it all the time to if you're in the barracks, COVID can't get you basically. So it was like, what are we doing, man? And it turned into it was like the colonel like over our like company. He was or like there's like 6 companies within like the battalion. He was over the battalion, whatever. And they just did it to appease him because he was like pushing for it, which is fine. Like, do you whatever you
Yeah.
have orders you have to follow as well. Um, and so I think the worst part was like they'd be like, all right, after so you go red, white, blue phase, which is three weeks each or 4 weeks each in basic,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to be like you're supposed to be able to go to the PX or like get a little pass or whatever, but like all of that got nixed because of COVID because everyone from all the companies around Fort Benning were just going there, so
Mm.
they were like, y'all can't do anything, y'all can't, and like our graduation, like no one could, our families couldn't come see us. Um,
Goodness.
it was it kind of and again and it was 6 months so like it got to the point where we were like what are we doing here like
Yeah.
we're just kind of sitting around with our thumbs up our butts just like there's no motivation to be like okay I know if we get through this I'll get to see my wife or or my
Yeah.
family so again that fell into like we just became so undisciplined because we hit a point as a whole company where we were like no matter what we do, we're gonna get screwed. So let's just have fun in the process. So that was like
Oh.
that was the fun part.
Oh man. And so what was it like? So I guess moving to Green Beret training, like
Yep.
how did that go? Like was it the same sort of situation where like the COVID was set or what year what's the timeline for that?
So that was I got there in May of 21,
Okay.
and it was dude. It was I don't even know how to describe it. It was one of those things where I got there and like so like backing up a little bit. So when we went to airborne, we were all ready to go to airborne and everything, and they forgot to pull my packet. So everyone from my company left except for me. So I had to stay at basic training for 2 more weeks, basically. Uh, so that was
Good.
horrible. So all my friends left me, not because of. So it just sucked because I was like, oh, I'm alone in this.
Yeah.
Luckily, some dudes trickled back because they're just like medical reasons, and then they got to come with me later. But
Yeah.
I made really really close friends with those guys. But um, I'm sorry. What was your original question again? I sidetracked. I know you said
No,
COVID stuff.
yeah.
Um,
So like going through Green Beret training, like
yeah,
with the I guess were COVID standards like a thing still, like when
yeah.
you were going through that training.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, an airborne, like, dude, they would let us like run like the airborne track and everything, but like across the street on the weekends, usually like on the weekends in airborne school, you can like go off and do everything you want. But at Benning, they were like, no. So like there was like a subway across the street, and they were like, if you go to that subway, you're dropped from the course. So like Benning was really strict, and
Ooh.
then we got to Fort Bragg, which I think is Fort Liberty now, whatever.
Mhm.
And they were like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Like wear your mask in formation, which was like twice a day, because they were like, we want you. You're focusing on in this time frame before like it was called prep course, where they prep you for selection.
Mhm.
We had like a 2 month like summer basically, where they were like, there's nothing during this time because it's too hot. So they were like, as long as you wear your mask, you're fine. And then it got to the point where they're like, all right, you don't have to wear the mask. And then in prep course, they're like, you have to bring the mask back. And we're like, what the heck, man? So
Oh man.
that didn't go over well with a lot of us. So that's kind of where that stupidity started for our journey, because everyone started getting, I guess, mad about it, and then like that's where like the defiancy started coming in.
Yeah.
So
And I guess was it just like the lack of consistency that people were noticing and like the I guess military readiness wasn't being prioritized or
yeah, so I think so. From what I know, they did. I think Floyd Austin, who's the I forget what role he's high up there. At the time, he was saying that getting his soldiers vaccinated was like the number one priority, and this is like
Mhm.
right when Russia Ukraine kicked off and everything. And I know like I'm a very strong believer in like not sending our soldiers to war if like there's no reason for us to fight it.
Yeah.
But like that was fifth on his list to like watch how that played out, where like he was more concerned with getting everyone vaccinated. But
Hmm.
and this was at a time where like everyone was like, all right, none of this COVID stuff's making any sense whatsoever. Um, so he, I don't know. There was, it seemed like they were just trying to push an agenda, and like we were being the test subjects in that agenda during the time.
Yeah.
Like there was a point where there was like 250 of us in the company at SWIC, which is the Green Beret like company, and or the prep company, and they called all the non-vaxxers down, and they were like, all right, everyone form a line and let's get on this bus because we're going to get your vaccine right now. And from
Ooh.
that's when 40 of us decided we're not doing this, and so
Yeah.
we stepped off to the side, and they were like, all right, more to come. And then we had like talks from, I think he was a colonel, like doctor, a Green Beret doctor. He was like, y'all are being stupid. Like, just go get your shot. And then another colonel was like, y'all are traitors to your country. And we were like, fantastic. That's awesome. Rock and roll. They're supporting us. So like, I
Right.
think, I think because all of us getting berated like that, it
Mhm.
kind of, it had to, you kind of had to rely on the guy next to you. So luckily there was a lot of guys from my basic class that, fall in line with what I believed in the time, because a lot of it was just based solely on conviction, and like I was like, I don't have a good feeling about this at all.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so
from what you've told me, like it sounds like there was good reason to not be excited about it. And like you don't have to get into the specifics like we've talked about it before, but from what you've said, like there was evidence to not go ahead with this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the science just wasn't adding up, man. On my end, of why like you're the primary people who realistically don't need a vaccine for this are
Hmm.
young guys who are fit,
Yeah.
and it's affecting people who have like like preconditions or like overweight or whatever. So like I'm like this, like why are you forcing me to do this? I mean, I know, here's the thing, I know it's the military and what they say goes, but like
Yeah.
I'm very much a proponent of like I don't want to do something that's going to affect me long term. Um, and I really hold fast to like if I have a conviction of something, it's going to eat at me until like I just comply with it. So I really feel
Yeah.
like in the Lord, in that time, the Lord was like, "Don't do this. It's going to make sense."
Mm.
But I just couldn't see far. And like looking at my life now, I'm like, it made perfect sense. But
Yeah.
um, in the moment, he was like, "Just be patient with me," and I was
Mm.
like, "I don't want to be patient. Just tell me tell me what's happening."
Which is hard because I mean, I'm sure you were stoked about the path that you were on. Like you were going to be a
Yeah,
Green Beret, you were going to follow in like your family's footsteps, like you were going
yeah.
to be like the man.
That
And
was
so
that
I'm
was
sure,
the hope, man. That
yeah,
was the hope. But we can really desire things and want things, but the Lord
hmm
has a lot better stuff. I mean, like thinking about it now, like I could have been on that pathway and like not really see my wife that much. We would have never fostered Nieli. So I mean,
yeah,
there's that. I wouldn't have this incredible community. So like, I really do think the Lord directs our steps in everything we do. Um,
hmm
and again, even if like there's just crap that you have to go through in the way, like the COVID crap, being called a traitor to your country. Like, I don't think we deserve that, but like
no, no,
we got berated from August of 21 and we all got out in July of 22. So it was like an
golly,
8 month roughly period of just like crap.
yeah.
So
It's like in this time, were you still going through like Green Beret selection
no,
or?
so they told us that because we didn't have the vaccine, we weren't able to participate in anything. We got removed from the course. Um,
Mm.
they said you can't train with someone who has a vaccine because it could get them sick. And I was like, but they have the vaccine, shouldn't they? Yeah,
What
it was like crap like
exactly?
that, man. It was like, what the heck? Um, so yeah, so we got told you have to go pick grass from like 8 a.m. to 5. And so we go and we just pick grass all day. Like,
Oh my
and it was
gosh.
stupid stuff like that. It made no sense, but they didn't know what to do with us. They were like, we've never seen something like this. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, good for y'all for defying and like actually, standing up for your rights and not doing what you were told.
yeah, again, a lot of us just had. It was kind of cool too because again, I feel like the Lord really wanted me there, and I got to really see that play out. Like in that
Hmm
time, like Bible studies were formed out of this, and um, like buddies were coming to Christ through this. I mean, it's a win,
Wow.
definitely a win.
Absolutely. And so what did that look like when you had like Bible study, like when you say Bible studies were happening, like how did all that come about?
Um, so I really think dudes like so like there was a time where like we were all like just like going out like and I was a believer at this time. I wasn't participating in anything like bad. I was just going to hang out with my buddies because there was nothing else
Yeah.
to do.
hmm
Um, and it hit a point, and I was like, I can't continually say I'm a Christian, but then still hang out in these bars. Like I wasn't doing anything bad. Like I was talking with my friends and drinking water. Like that was I was that guy. um, which is cool. Like people's reactions are always funny to that, but um,
hmm
I was like, I'm putting myself up. I'm only setting myself up for failure, like in the long run. So I remember I told my buddy was like, "Hey, we going out this weekend?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing it anymore. It's just I can't do it. Y'all have fun." And then some, and I'm not saying like I was the cause of this. I'm saying like this is again my conviction. I lean heavy
Yeah.
on what I'm convicted on. Um, and it went from that to there was like 8 of us who started a Bible study, and like the goal was we know we're not all staying here together, so let's all lead a week in the Bible study, so that when we go out, we can have our own Bible studies that we're leading, and like we know what this looks like because we're kind of training ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about the Green Beret pipeline. Like the whole thing is everyone thinks like you're 12 strong. I don't know if you've seen the movie. Is just all you do, but like the
hmm
majority of it is like going into the community, getting to know the community, and then building up their army and building them up.
Yeah.
So like
When you say
what a,
going into the community, what does
like you
that
would
mean?
like if you're in Afghanistan, you would live in an Afghan village and like
Hmm.
play the part. Like you would act
Yeah.
like you're not a U.S. citizen. You would act like exactly like them. So you're immersing in their community completely. And then
hmm
on the side, I mean, your mission is to build up their army so that if like the Taliban came, they knew how to defend themselves.
hmm
Um, and in my head, I'm like, what a beautiful like that's how we should be living as believers. Like, let's go into these dark spots and teach them about Jesus, build them up, and disciple them so they can go out into the world and defend themselves if we're not there. So
Yeah.
That was my conviction of going that route then, because everyone was like, you should go option 40, which is Ranger. And I was like, that would be awesome. But they're more, they're more shoot first, ask questions later type thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so is that the appeal like of the Green Beret in the beginning for you?
It was, like I said, I mean, all this happened right after I gave my life to Christ. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I think finally understanding like what discipleship looks like and what loving someone looks like. Um, like we'd watch documentaries on like what's going on in Afghanistan during that time, and it's like my heart and like some of my buddies' hearts like just turned into like puddles for these kids, man, that are just in the thick of it for no reason, or like these communities that are like, I just want to love my wife, but I can't do that effectively because we're getting shot at every day, and I'm getting mad about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, the Green Beret route was like the way to like get in there and like teach someone a skill so that they can provide for their family and defend themselves and defend their families. So,
Yeah.
and then my goal was ultimately, if I'm over there, like if I get shot, I get shot. But like we're sharing the gospel while we're there. So,
I love that.
yeah,
Love it.
but the Lord didn't have that for me, and that's okay. So,
I'm glad you didn't get shot.
well, maybe I might if I keep making my wife mad. We don't know yet.
All right. And so, like, what did that exit process look like whenever they finally said like they'd had enough of like that defiance and like
Yeah,
you said July 2022
yeah,
was
yeah. We got out July 1st, 2022. So it was like I think it was they didn't say anything from August to February. They just had us in
mm,
and like we were hearing rumors through the rumor mill of like this is what was going to happen with us, but nothing was set in stone. Then we had a formation for just the vax refusals in February, and they were like, "Yep, they're kicking you guys out." And we were like,
mm,
"Cool. I mean, this is better than just sitting around wasting our lives."
yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Um, So they were like, "Yeah, we're thinking it could be like 6 weeks when y'all are out." We were like, "Fantastic!" And then it was July, so I mean, I don't know what happened in in between, but it was like they would take one step and then they would just sit there, and then they would take another step. So it was just this long, drawn out process where like they really wanted to push it through. They could have done it a lot faster, but I mean, it is what it is. So,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
like, dude,
So
like that time was all like just patience. Like the Lord's
mm,
gonna do it when He wants to do it, and like I need to be okay with the win. And like looking at it now, it's like a lot of things could have changed if I would have got out 6 months earlier or 3 months earlier.
really,
But like in the sense of like where I'd be at in my life,
mm,
like who knows if we would have gone in the foster process sooner.
yeah,
Because that means we don't get annihilated. We get another kid we get to love, which would be awesome. But
yeah,
like we've had so much fun with Naila and getting to know her and just sharing the gospel with her. It's been cool, man. So
yeah. And I love that perspective of the Lord's timing because I mean that is something my wife and I struggled with so much, and I think
hmm
infertility is something I've talked about a lot,
yeah,
almost every
hmm
episode here.
yeah,
But just I love that perspective of realizing that you would not have what the Lord gave you if it had happened any differently. Because
yeah,
like
yep,
we wouldn't have our daughters like if we had had our first three
hmm
kids that were a miscarriage.
yep,
Like it would
hmm
have been a completely different situation. I love our kids most
yeah,
of the time.
yeah, dude. Like Naila was up at 1:30 today, and I was like, "Kid, come on, let's go back to sleep." Like, we don't have to cry. It's just your pacifier fell out of your mouth. We're good. Yeah. No, dude. I mean, you're right. It's like the Lord's timing played out will always play out so much better than our timing. And like that
Hmm.
was so hard for me in that like, hey, it's gonna be 6 weeks turned into 5 more months. And it's like I
Yeah.
didn't like in the moment it's terrible. And you could probably attest to that too with the infertility stuff. It's like all the thing I can ask is why.
Hmm.
And then have you read in Job when Job's asking the question why and God's like, were you there when I formed the earth? And like every time
Hmm.
when I read that, I was like, okay, I have no room to talk. Like
Yeah.
this is his domain, and I'm just a passenger in it that's here for a little bit. So I'm gonna make sure like all the glory goes to him in the time in the time that I'm here. So like I need to shut my mouth and understand that it's His will and not mine. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what was that time like for your wife? Because you said you were married, like going through this process.
yeah,
So, I guess how was she responding whenever you said like 6 weeks, I'll be home, and then it turned into however long?
yeah. So my wife, I mean, you know this. My wife is medical, so my wife was like, "You should do it. You should get the vaccine." So
Hmm.
there was that conflict,
Yeah.
and then it hit a point where she's like, "You know what? We can disagree on this, but like, I just want you home at this point." So
And that's a
it
great
was,
wife.
dude, the best wife. Dude, she's incredible. She really is. She's
Yeah.
such a good mother, such a good wife. So compassionate, caring. I mean, and I would agree with I would say your wife's just like that, and I think that's why they get along so well. So
Yeah.
so that's probably gonna stay in place forever. So that means we get to hang out more, which is fantastic.
The best news. The best
Exactly.
news.
But dude, it took such an emotional toll on her for a lot of. I mean, it's taken an emotional toll on all of us. But like, whenever your wife's crying, saying you need to come home, and like
Hmm.
you're in the military, and you're like, I literally can't just get on a plane. Like I
Yeah.
have to go through a process of like applying for leave, and then a week go by, and I'm like, hey, what's up with this? And they're like, oh, we lost it. You have to go print out a leave form again. Like
Ugh.
it's not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all. But um, again, I think the Lord brought her through that because I mean, there's no other way. I mean, just being away from your spouse in general is hard, but like our first year of marriage was apart, which
Yeah.
was not fun. I don't recommend. Like if it's your first year, stay with your wife.
Yeah.
Do what you can. So
Nice.
yeah,
All
it
right.
was hard on her.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad y'all made it through. And so, what
Yep.
happened? Like, what was that life like after, getting out?
So, dude, it turned into we were so lucky to. My wife was like I said, my wife was in Shreveport. She was going through nursing school and whatever, and graduated. And she graduated in August, and in July we closed on a house. So being married, you kind of double your salary in the military. So um, we were able to have a little bit of money to play with. And then my grandfather at the time, like right when I got in the military, passed away, and so
Mm.
he had some money, and he was like, "Here, down payment on a house." So like between
Oh,
that and
wow.
down payment, I was like, "You're the best. I love you so much." um, so right out the gate, it was I'm with my wife and we have a house, we have a place
Mm.
we can live at together, and then on top of it, it's okay. Next step is we need to find a church that embodies what we believe in. And I think we went to Norris Ferry the first week we were here because we had my buddy Daniel um, whose car I was in whenever Christ met me.
Yeah.
We went to Norris Ferry one week and it was great there. And then we tried out. We actually showed up to the Rogers original B group and walked in and we were like, "Yep, this is where we're going to be." So from there, just it's been just community the entire time, and like I wouldn't have that any other way. And then whenever we broke off, me and Justin broke off to form this new group. I mean, like, dude, getting to know you guys, the mez is better. I want to. I'll put Kaylee, but not Colby. I'm not happy that he's there half the time. um, but dude, like I said, it's just been community where we've just been blessed so much with we're just great friends, and this life couldn't like I look around and there's just so many blessings that the Lord has given us in this time. So I mean, why not share the gospel everywhere everywhere I go from there. So
Yeah. And you
yeah,
do. You do a great job.
try to, man. I'm an idiot. Like I said, I'm an idiot half the time. So it's hard. I get in my own way. So
Nah. And so, like, what was the career path you took? Because you're in sales now.
yeah.
So, what drew you to that?
So I mean, I think, dude, I could talk to a brick wall, as you know. So I was like, I was getting out of the military, and I was like, what do I want to do? And so I was like, I was just scouring LinkedIn, updating my resume and stuff, and I found a job called field sales and marketing representative for a company called TTI. They own Milwaukee, Ryobi, and Rigid. So I was like, I need to get my foot in the door because I want to go on the industrial side. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I just need to get my foot in. So I
Mm.
worked in a Home Depot, just doing the sales and marketing for them. just selling Ryobi Milwaukee region. It wasn't like a typical sales job. It was they pay you a good salary and you do get no commissions. I was like, that's a terrible sales job. That doesn't make any
Yeah, right.
sense. What's the incentive to sell? But again, Lord's timing. In that job, I was selling to a guy who was a contractor who then I didn't see for like 3 months, and he was like, "Hey, I took a job at Fastenal, and I'm the general manager there, and I need a salesman." And so I got to boycott like all like usually when you get hired on, you hire on the lowest position, but I got hired
Hmm.
on like the third position. So I missed like the first two of just promotions. So they put
Yeah.
me in an account specialist role, um, all because I was just servicing a guy and selling to him and just making relationships the whole time. And again, Lord's timing's perfect because in that he has recently left the company, so opportunities got to arise. So I actually got to bypass his position, and they put me in a position called a customer solutions consultant role, and this is all within a year. So
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah, I was. They offered me or they were talking to me about the job, and I was like, I'm so green. Like, why? What is going on? Like,
Yeah.
but like, no one could give me an explanation. So I'm like, and I've talked to my boss about this. I'm very open about my faith at Fastenal, and they're like super receptive to like me sharing my faith. Um, but I'm like, I think the Lord wants me here. I haven't seen it play out yet because, like, I've been here 3 days, my whole
Yeah.
fastball career it feels like. Um, so it's definitely like I feel like I'm in a good position in order to make a life and career for my family. I
Yeah.
just got to go through the sales process now. I mean, but getting in a role like this, I mean, a lot of the average person's like 10 years into their fastball career before they get offered a job like this, and I wasn't even a year yet, and I was like, I really don't know what's happening, but I'm going to take the opportunity that's presented in front of me.
Yeah. And
So now,
you might say you don't understand it, but from the outside looking in and knowing who you are and seeing what you've done, the quote, I find the harder I work, the luckier I get, really
yeah,
stands out because I mean, we've talked before about how your what your process is and like how you are not a sit still person. And I can't remember if we were recording whenever we talked about this,
yeah,
but you're not like I think you said even when you started, like there were people who had like there was big clients and your perspective wasn't to wait for a meeting, but like to literally go to someone's office and like literally sit there and talk to the secretary until the person had a moment to talk to you.
yeah. That's a company called Macro Metals. I was like 3 weeks in, and I was like, they were like, you have to train and do all this stuff, and I was like, can I just like go out on the road and just see what happens? So I was just driving around because I was just prospecting places and scouting, and I saw
Yeah.
McElroy, and we had a if you don't know Fastenal, they do they specialize in supply chain solutions. So we have a vending machine in there, but that's all they would give us was just one vending
Hmm.
machine to house all their PPE. And the guy was just like super standoffish. Like I could go and check my machine, but he wouldn't meet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here and sit here. And then finally, the guy met with me, and from there, we've taken over their whole maintenance department. We've assigned two more machines, and he's talking about using us to supply them all. So like Macro Metals, they do roofing, metal roofs, and they need a special screw in like all these different colors because the screws have to match the metals.
Yeah.
And it's like hundreds of thousands to like a million screws. Like it's crazy. And they're like, we want you to
Hmm.
manage this and then manage our inventory. So it's perfect for a model that we have called the on-site model, where we have one of our reps go and they just house and work out of their store all day or out of their
Yeah.
location all day. So that's like as a customer solutions consultant, it's my job to sign those. So it kind of fell right where I needed where I needed it to. Like their spend was there, and like they have a big inventory issue right now, just because not trying to talk trash, but they
Yeah.
said it first. Um, but they have like they just don't know where things are going and how it's like organized and everything. So like again,
Hmm.
that's where our guys come in, and that's where we specialize. So I was like, we could hire someone to do this for you and train them so they could learn your systems.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's things are falling into place, and it's like things are just happening, and I'm just like along for the ride, and I'm like I don't know what's going I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on half the time, but I'm very thankful. I'll say that.
And I think it sounds like the resilience you got from the military and having to go through that war of attrition, like just being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and like things aren't working exactly how you want them to, but it's just the being faithful
Yeah.
to the process and like putting in the work. Because I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
like that situation was similar to like the boot camp experience. Like you have to just go outside, sit on concrete, and read. And if you
Yeah.
fall asleep, like
Hmm.
you're doing something. And so like that ability to apply that discipline and that resilience to sales just makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, dude. I mean, sales is a long game, so it's like going through like just months of waiting and waiting. So like that's where I'm at now. It's like I'm a month into my new role, and it's like I have to find all these new clients that I need to go through, and it's like okay, people aren't answering emails, people aren't answering phone calls, but the
Mm-hmm.
gold, if to quote Jordan Cole, I don't know if you know Jordan, but he says the gold is in the follow up. So like being
Mm-hmm.
patient enough to sit there and being patient enough, even though I'll probably be jittering the whole time because I can't sit still. Um, being resilient enough to just send 6 7 emails until someone answers. I mean, you're just gonna annoy them until they reply to you, and then hopefully hopefully you set
Yeah.
a meeting and it goes well. So
Dude, and working in the church communications area that I do, like I get those emails all the time, but I always appreciate the people that do it. Like I appreciate because
hmm.
people are busy, and like a
Yep.
salesperson is not the top of your priority list that day.
Nope. Nope.
But it's the salesperson for me who has like that follow up and
Mhm.
that willingness to improve your life. Like that's
Yep.
what always makes the difference for me. And
Yep.
so,
Yeah. The conviction of like believing in what you're selling is
hmm,
has to be there, or like it just doesn't work. So like,
yeah,
I believe in our solutions. I believe what we do it's fantastic. At the end of the day, like my mission is to serve the Lord. So like, fast enough. We're cool. But like, I have seen like real big cost savings within the Fastenal role throughout companies. So I mean, like,
mm,
if I can go in and help someone save some money or help someone um, spend more time with their kids because they're not running around all day looking for one bolt and they're out for 8 hours, like then I can sleep well at night. I'm good.
yeah, I love it. So, what does your fitness journey look like now?
So before, like I said, prepping for the army was all CrossFit.
Yeah.
I was that guy, and I love talking about it. I literally was the worst. Um, so now it's man, it's kind of gone hybrid. Like running so much in the army, like I like doing that a little bit. I don't love it, but I do it because like getting steps in is good.
Mm-hmm.
Working on, I'm trying to work on my aerobic heart rate right now. Just building the engine. That's the
Yeah.
goal. And then trying to pair that with just heavy resistance training. I don't know if you've heard of. Do you know Dr. Mike Israetel at all?
Mm-mm. Nah.
Dude's like 5'4", 5'5", and just this meatball of a man. He's a stud. But like doctoring
Wait, is
sport
he the
science.
bald guy?
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome.
Yes, I have. I've seen like one or two of his videos.
Dude, I've watched so many of his videos. He's the dude's legit. And like from
Yeah.
what he's saying and how he's like, hey, you need to be training like this. I've been doing with Danny Meza and Austin Elgin from the church, and Levi Arroyo's been there. Um, and it's just like this methodical, just slow descents and explosive ascents if you're squatting and stuff like that. So like, dude,
Mm,
it's been a lot of just resistance training because
yeah.
that's just what I've fallen in love with. And then having building a gym at the house really has helped that because I can just go out at any time and you know take care of business. But
Yeah.
from that, it's running heavy weight training or even lightweight weight training, but like being a psycho when it comes to controlling the weight. um,
Right.
and then rucking, like, dude, I still love rucking. Like that was part of the army that, like, I mean, you ruck for 2 hours and just have weight on your back and just go and run it. So um, that builds more mental fortitude than anything in my
Mm.
thought process there. I mean, having heavy weight, running for a long time, and dying in the process is always fun. So if you don't ruck, go ruck.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. And so the faith aspect, like I
Yep.
know you're, I don't know, on fire for Christ. And so where do you see yourself at now? Like, is there a change that you've noticed or like more of a shift where the Lord's kind of led you to from I guess, getting out of the military and into sales?
Hmm. Um, dude, I would say like that whole time in the military was just putting so much trust in the Lord. Because I mean, I was when I went in, I was like a baby believer, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting thrown into the fire of I'm away I'm not in any comfort zone whatsoever, which was great. So like the only person I had was the Lord to rely on in that. Like that was the constant. So learning that to now it's been fun being like so like I mean you know this, if you come work out at my house and in my gym, like you're gonna hear what I'm reading about biblically that day. Um and honestly, like it's been pretty consistent. I just read Second Kings, and it was David's passing away at this point, and he's talking to Solomon about this how to be a man. And so, like, my heart's been really for like building men specifically up biblically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and David's cause or his push to Solomon was like, stand up, be a man, obey the Lord, like follow my statutes and ordinances. So, like, right now it's obedience.
Right.
Um, which is I'm so prideful that I'm coming to find out that there's always the tension there.
Yeah.
But um, I think Christ renewing my heart every single day and just giving me opportunities to just be obedient has been like the biggest blessing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, if you look at biblical manhood, I mean, you could be the most jacked person ever, or can run the farthest, and that's a cool attribute, I guess. But like, at the end of the day, like I want to be told, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," and steward my family and steward my child well. So
Yeah.
um, I think it all starts there. So go obey the Lord. It's the best thing you can do. Yeah,
Nice. Man, that's awesome, Adam. Man, thank you so much for being on here.
yeah, dude. That hour flew by. I see how podcasts go to like 3 hours. So
Yeah, right.
yeah,
It was fun. All good stuff. Well, hopefully we'll have you back on, do a recap some
yeah,
other time, or do a specific topic just because you've got a lot of, I feel like you've got a lot of information you could share with people as far as like the sales aspect, how to be a faithful leader, and yeah,
yeah.
you're just a good dude.
Dude, you're a great dude. I thank you for thinking of me when doing this. I'm all dude. I wear your shirts all the time. Dude, your apparel and everything is awesome. Hopefully, if you don't know, he has an Etsy store. So go buy
Uh
everything from him. Make him a millionaire from Etsy. It's gonna be awesome.
oh, that'd be awesome.
It would.
Oh, yes, sir. Anyway, so hope you have a great day, Adam.
Dude, you too, man. It's good seeing you. Good talking to you.
You,
Can't wait to see you on Friday.
yes, sir. We'll be there.
All right, bud. See you.
Bye.